Huge breaking news. Latrell Mitchell ruled out of this Game 3. What's the latest on this situation?
Yeah, look, really disappointing for Latrell Mitchell. Obviously, massive Game 2. Now suffered a Liz Frank injury in that game against Parramatta the other night. He will miss at least 4 weeks. There are fears, though, he will see the surgeon on Tuesday. There are fears, though, that he will require season-ending surgery.
Was that the tackle?
It was Dylan Brown in around the 20th minute. That wasn't the one there. It was Dylan Brown in the first half. He came from the field. Latrell Mitchell at half-time, he noticed the pain. Apparently, he thought he might have broken his foot. They strapped it up, and unfortunately, after the game, they had some scans and it showed that Liz Frank injury. And then confirmation again yesterday, scans last night. The severity, though, it's up to the surgeon whether or not he can get through the rest of the year without that surgery to get through it.
So we'll discuss later in the show what this means for South Sydney, but let's discuss for New South Wales. There are some options coming through now. So Tom Trbojevic obviously made his return from injury last night for the Seagulls. He played at centre. Also Bradman Best, he starred last year for New South Wales. There's also Joseph Suaalii, a chance as well. He's obviously been in and around the Blues camp, played there in Game 1 before he was sent off. And then there's also some discussion Matt Burton as well could come in. Who, for you, is the front runner, the must pick?
Bradman. Has to pick Bradman.
Yeah.
Pretty much a like for like, as in powerhouse, the way he plays on that left side. And he's in great form, Bradman. Yeah, I'd go Bradman for sure, without a shadow of a doubt.
Freddie?
Turbo looked a little bit underdone. I don't think you could play Turbo. Might take a while for him to get back into form. Pretty tough game going to Townsville, I've got to say, for your first game as well, with the heat and the quality of that game. But given Latrell's on the left-hand side, Bradman plays left. Burton's the other one. He's a left-sided player as well. Suaalii, he picked him in the first game on the right. But I don't think I want to take Crichton away from that side. So I'm assuming that he'd go with Bradman.
From what I gather, he wants to play Stephen Crichton on the right-hand side again. Did a good job in Game 2 and obviously in the back half of Game 1 there defending on the right.
Joseph plays left for Roosters.
Well,
so.
he does. And to be fair, like Michael Maguire, and this was sort of what sparked the drama around Game 2, that sledge around Glass Houses, that was defending Joseph Suaalii. Then brought him into camp to show him that he still was part of what they were doing. I think it's going to be hard for him to overlook, given how hard he's gone to protect Joseph and then also make him feel like he's part of the team. There might be a part of him that feels obliged to be. Not that he doesn't deserve it, but he's been in and around the setup. Bradman Best hasn't. So that may be a factor when you come...
But Bradman was out injured for Game 1, remember?
He was, and he was going to be the centre before he got injured in Game 1. It depends on Michael Maguire and whether or not he wants to go with someone who he feels is part of that setup. Does he feel an obligation or a loyalty to someone like Joseph Suaalii?
Do you think that if he did pick Joseph Suaalii, there could also be an impact on Reece Walsh, his mental approach?
Joseph's a winger. For me, Joseph Suaalii is an out-and-out winger. I don't see him as a centre, especially at that level, where defensively you've got to be so in tune. Without a doubt, specialist centre, Bradman Best. For mine, Joseph Suaalii at Origin level, rep level, is a winger.
The way Reece Walsh played in the weekend, I don't think he's carrying any thoughts about anyone. He looked in control, playing against a really good defensive team. Penrith, obviously, I can't imagine whoever they picked is going to worry him. He played very aggressive, really tough.
Defended a lot in the front line, even
got out
from
of the front
30,
line.
40 out.
Made a couple of hit-ups, just coming out of line. Early tackles. It was totally in the game, so I don't think he's carrying anything at the moment.
Billy, does the person that New South Wales pick change anything from what you do? Does the strengths and the attributes of certain players change the way you defend at all?
It changes what we focus on because it's a different player. Different player gives you different strengths. So, when you do your homework on an opposition, Latrell Mitchell, Bradman Best, you got Matt Burton, they've all got different strengths. So it does change how you view that side of the field and their patterns in defence, what they bring in attack. But at the end of the day, you take a quality player out. Look, we've just spoken about 3 or 4 quality players that'll go in with different strengths to Latrell. So it's tough, there's injuries to both sides. I feel for the player because they work so hard to get to that point, and to miss out on a big game, which is what Wednesday week is going to be. I feel for the players.
What about selections? Does that go into your consideration at all in terms of who that New South Wales are picking?
No, absolutely not. You select your team on your team and who deserves to be there and who has earned the right to be there. I think it's pretty dangerous if you start selecting your team on what the opposition are going to do.
The right centre for you guys, a lot of been talking about Val Holmes and that position. Is that giving you the biggest headache, that position at right centre?
I don't have any headaches at the moment.
Okay, good.
Joey, say, look, this afternoon, like, obviously there's a couple of games to go. You know, there's players from both teams playing this afternoon. You sit down with the selectors this afternoon and you build your best team. You know, things have happened over the weekend, you know, that are out of your control that you've got to factor in, and yeah, you just got to wait to that final hour until you can see who's healthy.
Harry Grant, he's struggling with a sternum injury. Has he been ruled out? Is he unlikely to play?
No, he hasn't been ruled out, no.
Is he a chance to play?
Yes.
Would you have someone, because he's got that sternum injury, is it a bit of a situation where you do have someone come in just in case his body's not up to it come game day?
Potentially. But he's had a couple of weeks off now. He didn't play the game after the Origin, and he sat out the game on the weekend. I know Harry pretty well. I've been speaking to him over the last couple of weeks, so he's in a pretty good place.
What about someone like a Reed Marnie apparently calls maybe to AJ Brimson just to check on guys' well-being or fitness heading into Game 3? Have you got a backup in mind, or are you just going to basically wait until see how Harry Grant?
I've got a lot of things in mind, but until you get to that point where you can actually put all the pieces to the puzzle together, you can't actually go and build it. So, you know, those guys have been doing a fantastic job. Obviously, AJ Brimson hasn't played for a long time. Kalin Ponga's expected to play this afternoon. And Reed Marnie made 69 tackles on the weekend. He's done a great job and a big part of what the Bulldogs are doing there defensively. So, you know, those guys are always in the conversation. We watch all Queenslanders, understand where all Queenslanders are at with their footy and the habits in their game. So you get to this afternoon or this evening after that final game this afternoon, and you know, you sit down with a calculated decision on your hands because you understand what everyone brings to the footies team.
Ponga, you mentioned him before. Is he someone that you're looking at today to see how he goes, potentially for that utility role, depending on the rest of the makeup of the team?
Well, the first thing I'm looking at for Kalin is hopefully he goes out there and he's got a big smile on his face. He's missed a whole heap of footy. It was great to see Trbojevic back in the game. We want to see our best players playing the game. So hopefully he's fit and he's playing this afternoon for the Knights, and yeah, we'll go from there. But look, he's been a big part of the Queensland team for a number of years, missed last year and was in great form at the start of the year. So, you know, he's just got to get back on the field and start playing footy.
Gordy Tallis has been quite vocal about Josh Papali'i coming back out of retirement. What's your thoughts on Gordon's comments?
Well, that's the great thing about our game. You know, we've got a job because, you know, we've all got an opinion and we give our comments. So if no one had their opinion, it'd be a pretty boring game. You know, our team is our team at the moment, and, you know, like I said, all Queenslanders will come into consideration this afternoon, but we've just got to wait for those two games to be played. Billy,
5 weeks ago you spoke about Dave Fifita. When he was left out of that team for Game 1, you spoke about the standards that he set last year and not quite meeting where that was this time of year. Over the last 5 weeks, has he got to a place where you would now pick him in your team?
Well, we picked the team this afternoon.
So no?
You'll have to wait.
I think he'll be on the bench.
Yeah.
I'm just reading Billy's mind. We've got a great
Well, out of respect to, you know, there's a lot of players playing this afternoon that are in contention. Out of respect to everyone, it'd be disrespectful to go out and, you know, throw names out there and say this guy's in the team, this guy isn't. And to be honest, it doesn't get finalised until 6 o'clock tonight after that last game's finished. So you don't know the health of your players. Reports are still coming in from last night and whatnot. So, you know, there's a lot of water to flow under the bridge before you can actually finalise the team. So to sit on national television prematurely and discuss options and who's going to be there and what I think of players is disrespectful to the players preparing to play for their club this afternoon.
What did you make of this one? It was such a thriller.
Tough game. Geez, they ripped in. Before I forget, the Warriors, the courage they showed. Both wingers and fullback went off at one stage of the game and they still...
That's incredible.
Now, this was an intercept. They've got a young player who debuted yesterday. He's a front rower who played in the centres. He will be an out-and-out superstar. Far out, you see this young guy. But I loved it. I loved it. It was as tough as they come. The referees stayed out of it. Great fatigue in the game. Yeah, both teams should be applauded. What a great spectacle. Mitch Barnett, how good's he going?
Well, the Warriors, once again, the Bulldogs' first try was an intercept. They owned they owned the sort of first half. You know, in a tough game, they had the big plays and, you know, through an intercept kept the Bulldogs in the game. But they've done this a few times, the Warriors, where they've looked the better team, I think, and just haven't scored enough tries. And they also had a few shots at field goal as well. They were in good positions. The last 10 minutes, although they were in a position 3 or 4 times to kick an early field goal, but that didn't seem to cross their mindset. So it was a good game.
There were.
This
in
is
the last
this
10
young
minutes
guy.
before-
He's a front rower on debut. Tearaway.
Well, his first run, he set... Oh, that was a play.
Yeah, these are the big moments, the last 10 minutes.
He set the tone with his first run, the young guy, on debut.
Leaker, yeah.
It was an incredible game.
Yeah, when the game's on the line, like everyone loses their absolute marbles.
Look,
so good.
The Bulldogs are keeping their opposition to low scores and they're keeping themselves in the contest. Won in Golden Point the last couple of years, last couple of weeks, and Matt Burton, he's got a boot on him. Like he's icing the games for him. Reid Marnie, I mentioned before, he made 69 tackles, courageous effort, and that's what they're doing well. They're defending well. They're courageous in their defence. As you mentioned about the Warriors, that was some sort of performance, and I feel sorry for the Warriors getting on a plane today with no points and going home. They certainly didn't go home losers. That was something that they can build off. 2 weeks ago, they got belted by the Titans by 66 points. They've really turned it around since then. They beat the Broncos over in New Zealand, and then they go down in Golden Point in a courageous game like that. So
Their season's
they're on
fading,
the up.
though.
It's hard.
You look at how close that, you know, 5th or 6th position is now to about 13th or 14th.
And this is when
You don't lose too many more. You can't keep losing close games.
This is when they generally make a run too during Origin time. They usually string some big wins together during this time, but yeah, they've got to start winning those close ones.
But that one's also a costly one. We saw Chance Dugal-Clockster, Dallin Watini-Zalesniak and Marcelo Montoya all out injured
All
as
soft
well.
tissue injuries. Yeah.
And, I think Dallin had failed HIA. He was Category 1,
Oh, that
so
was a
that's
bad
likely
one.
to
Well,
be...
you have a look at their run. They got the Raiders, the Tigers, Parramatta, and the Dolphins. If these injuries come up okay, they can really go on a run. The way that they're playing, if they play with that spirit, Sean Johnson to come back into the side as well, they can go on a run.
Well, that spirit that you mentioned, have you noticed a difference in the last few weeks after that big loss, that they've got a stronger mentality towards it?
Absolutely.
Oh, Lionel Richie.
Without doubt.
Gone.
Without doubt.
You heard him when he came to the sideline. He actually goes, "What's happened?" He thought he was sin bin or something. So he was Gonski. Played well too.
What about for the Bulldogs? 2 Golden Point victories 2 weeks in a row. What does that do for a side? Are they someone who's
you gotta win your
riding
close games.
on confidence?
My old coach Warren Ryan used to say 24 rounds, you budget to win 8, lose 8, and then the next 8, the tight ones, if you win them, most of them, that decides your season. So winning the tight games, it's so important. They're the ones you've got to win.
I don't know what their average points conceded is, but it wouldn't be much.
It's second.
They're second behind
They're the second best defensive team behind the best defensive team of the last decade, and in Penrith. And that's what they're getting right. They're keeping themselves in a contest and they're giving themselves a chance to win every game they're in because they're defending well.
So Jamin Salmon, he got 2 weeks.
So he got a 2-week suspension if he accepts the early guilty plea, a 2-week suspension for the contact on Tamari Martin. He's also looking at a number of weeks out as well because he's requiring surgery on that fractured jaw. So
what they're saying, they got the decision wrong.
Got it wrong.
So that's the game there.
Yeah.
That's the game.
And the bunker looked at it. I couldn't understand why they didn't give the penalty. It looks like something off Halloween, like Dracula coming there. How much blood was all on his shirt. Yeah, I couldn't believe that wasn't a penalty. I was watching the replay just going, well, Mr. Bunker's going to come in here.
We can see they're actually trying to stay out of the game. I think they're doing
Which is good.
And they're doing a good job. But every now and then you may sure you're going to get one wrong like that. This time it costs the Warriors the game maybe, but I think all in all, I think the mindset's better.
Agreed.
Trying to stay out of it.
all right, well, there was another Golden Point thriller as well. This one in Townsville, the Sea Eagles coming away with the victory over the Cowboys. What did you make of this one? Another... entertaining one.
Well, once again, if Daly Cherry-Evans doesn't play, they don't win. I love this game. I got a special mention to the referee, Todd Smith. Todd Smith?
Yep.
Sensational. Stayed out of the play. All up, there was only 7 penalties and 4-6 to go.
I'm sure we're going to look at the missed opportunities with the field goals, but I feel the Cowboys lost the game at the start of the game. There were so many missed opportunities at the start of the game. Chad Townsend dropped the ball over the line before a try was even scored. You can lose the game at the start of the game. We tend to focus on the missed opportunities at the end of the game, but I just felt the Cowboys, they let it slip at the start. They had so many opportunities to score points early, and they couldn't quite do it. It was a game. And there was a moment, I think it was just before the full-time siren, it might even have been an extra time, where Jake Trbojevic charged down a ball. It only deflected off the fingertips, but there was enough on it that it didn't go through. There was one from Reed Marnie as well. This was a play. This is a 40-metre field goal to level it up.
It's like we forgot about them.
Yeah. Scott Drinkwater didn't, so Cherry Evans missed his first one, but he didn't miss two.
How confident would you be when you've got Daly Cherry-Evans in your team and the match goes to golden point?
Well, isn't it? That's his seventh golden point win.
Yeah.
So the next best is 4.
This is it here.
This is
Jake Trbojevic. That's going over for all money. It deflects off his hand, and then he gets down.
And that was as high as he's ever jumped in his life.
Actually, before the game, when Jake's given the... every time you see Jake, you just smile. Just like he is the best. I love this game. It was so good to watch.
Jason Saab went off at the end. That's a big blow.
Hearing cramps.
Cramps.
Yeah, listening into Anthony Seabold after the game, he said cramps, and they had.
So he had a hamstring problem at the start of the year.
He did. He missed
Lehigh
a number of
Hopewadi
weeks,
on the
yeah.
bench. So
You see
early
his
reports
value.
is it's okay.
But not only from a point of view like he's fast, but you just see how Cherry Evans
Goes to him.
goes to him all the time because they just put themselves in a position. Dom Young's very similar. They use their speed so well to time when to run onto the ball. They just have that little extra metre because they're so fast.
What about the return of Tom Trbojevic? It's been a pretty lengthy stint out. I think it was round 10 that he last played, making his return at centre. What did you make of his game?
But when we was playing in Origin, we always played him right centre. It's interesting to see him on the left side. That's maybe because Ruben Garrick has been a right side player for a long time, but I thought he tried hard. I think it's a tough go up there. It's the conditions are different. And you know what, it was a really tough game. It was like Joey said before, the ref stayed out of it, so there was a lot of ball in play.
90 minutes.
Incredible. But
It's good to see
Are
him
you
back.
talking for Origin?
No, just for Manly.
I thought...
Well, you can say
he didn't get much
Origin
ball.
as
No,
well.
I think it's too big a ask to play Origin after being out that long with the hamstring. I think there was times he still looked a bit tentative on that hamstring. Talking to people who have done hamstrings and have chronic hamstrings, there's that element of subconsciousness where you don't want to stretch out. And he didn't get many opportunities. As Freddie said, he played tough, but I thought at times he looked a little bit tentative.
Do you think that's the winning makeup of the team going forward, having him
I'd
play
have him at fullback.
still at fullback?
I'd have him at fullback.
Well, they've got a number of options there. Tolu Kola played fullback on the weekend.
how'd you think
Lehigh
he went?
Hopewadi, yeah, really good.
He went good, didn't he?
Really good. Ruben Garrick's played a little bit there. I think their best, if everyone's fully fit, Tom Trbojevic is their fullback. And I think he will move there once he gets a few games under his belt. That's his best position.
there was a time there where he did slide around to the right-hand side. I think he actually supported Ruben Garrick on the other side of the field. So I think maybe he'll just give him, there might be a licence to go in and out of that position and to be able to roam when he feels fit.
Billy, from playing centre to playing fullback, how much extra running would Turbo be doing, especially defensively, when he's at fullback, organising defences and chasing kicks?
Yeah, there's a lot more running. I didn't play a whole heap of centre, but the thing that you don't do as well is you don't tackle a lot. So it's a lot of aerobic capacity. When you're playing up in the front line, you're doing a lot of exertion of your energy.
Up and down off the
Up
ground.
and down, tackling, you're physically, you're wrestling on the ground, all that sort of stuff. So it's a different game, and I've got no doubt that they'll ease him back into playing through the centres, and then he'll start transitioning. Wouldn't even surprise me if they did it, throughout sets and, half a game here and a quarter of a game there.
The thing that's changed is the amount of top-level sprinting they're doing. And that's the thing that at centre you wouldn't do, nowhere near as much as fullback, like chasing kicks and, going from one side of the field to the other, supporting on the right, then supporting to the left. If you're playing centre, you're pretty much slotted into one position. So that's what they're saying through data is the problem with all the soft tissue injuries at the moment.
And you have a look at some of our stars, like Dylan Edwards. He's raised the involvement of that position. Reece Walsh has raised what he does. So the top players are raising the standard of that position. And then everyone's got to do that because otherwise they get criticised and their coach will be saying, well, why aren't you doing this? So, the standards of the position is getting raised by the elite players.
They haven't been good over the last month. They've had a lot of big spotlight on them as well. But you've got to say, doing what they did at the start of the year is give them the latitude to maybe have a couple of bad games, and I hope they turn it around.
Is it their slow starts that are killing Cronulla?
They just look out of form.
Yeah.
They look out of form and down on confidence, simple as that. And we've spoke about it. Don't know where it goes or how it comes back, but yeah, they're down on confidence. And, who's epitomises that is Nico at the moment. He's really down on confidence. But also, the Gold Coast are building. There's a team building there. They are fast. They're a really fast team. Kieran Foran winding back the clock.
Young fullback.
Fullback is
He is so courageous. He's in the game all the time. He wants the football in his hands. This game's a lot closer than you think. It was 3 tries apiece. It was the conversions and a penalty goal to Tanner Boyd that sort of separated them. But when you're down on confidence, you struggle to win these tight games. And that's what the Sharks are. They're down on confidence and they're in a bit of a hole at the moment.
Bill, what is it about our game at the moment? All our fullbacks, all our little fullbacks, they've all come back into play. It's pretty awesome, I think. But you got the young Fa'alongo, you got Kinney, you got the bloke who was playing over in New Zealand. The Dolphins,
Jai Gray.
I think it's a great thing about our game. Like we've got this young fullback, Keanu Kinney. He's playing the same position as Latrell Mitchell. 2 very different style of player and can actually play the same position and do it a different way. So
is it the speed that's changed? That's allowed. That's
without
doubt.
The game? Without a doubt. I think the speed of the game and how quick the play the balls are, the repeat sets, it brings a little guy into the game. So without a doubt, we're seeing more entertainment through these sort of players than ever before. But you can play the game so different. You can play it different as a team and individually. I just spoke about those 2 players. They're very different and they've got different attributes and they play their position differently.
You mentioned Nico before and the confidence that Cronulla seem to be lacking at the moment. What advice would you give him? It's such a hard thing to come back into form when you don't know what's missing, but what advice would you give to someone to get them back on track a little bit?
Well, the simple one is work hard. Work harder on your game, get in there earlier. Or then the other one is work less. Go and have a break. Not necessarily don't sit out. That's the worst thing you can do. You can't have a week or 2 off. You've got to either freshen up and get away, or the other side is work your backside off and get your confidence on the training paddock, doing the extra work.
You know Nico quite well. What would work for him?
Well, I was thinking, like we've all been in form slumps. We've all struggled at times throughout our careers, and when you've got brilliance like Nico does, it's the simple part of the game that he needs to get right, the simple part of the game that you need to bring to the front of your mind. That's kicking well, that's defending well. You talk about it all the time with halfbacks. You get your kicking game right and you get your defence right, the rest will flow. He's such a natural player, he's a brilliant player. Going through a bit of a tough period at the moment, as to his team is. But the more simple your mindset through those tough times, I think that's what gets you out of it.
I think you've got to be mindful. They've won a couple of games in here. They beat Melbourne in Melbourne about 4 weeks ago, and then they also beat Brisbane up at Suncorp as well. So, in amongst some of their softer games, they've also had some pretty big wins. So I don't think it's too far away.
The Penrith Panthers doing what they do best and coming away with a victory.
Went up to Brisbane thinking this is going to be lovely, get a bit of heat. Literally at 7:30 it started to rain. Seriously? The rain is following me at the moment.
Well, the players didn't know that it was raining. I was speaking to some of the Panthers and they said that they didn't expect there to be rain. And then they were in the sheds and they had finished their warm-up. They came off the field and they were about to run out and someone said, hey, it's raining out there.
Actually, I noticed it was quite slippery underfoot, which is rare for Suncorp Stadium surface.
A great game. Reece was great. Jerome Luai was the difference.
How good is he going?
Yeah, he's going
Since
really
Nathan's
good. There was a
been-
moment there where actually Reece had a couple of early kicks, little cracks at 40-20s, and Jerome just stood up and went bang, nailed it. They scored just after it.
When I'm sitting at home watching, all I do is watch attack. I don't watch defence. But in this game, I thought, right, I'm going to watch Penrith defensively. They work so hard, and they've lost so many players over the last 3 and 4 years we've spoken about. Whoever beats them will win the grand final, because defensively, they must be so fit. They are so accountable for everything they do. They just work so hard off the ball. Just sitting and watching them defensively, every play means so much to them.
It's no
they are
fluke, is
just
it?
so desperate.
No fluke.
They must be so fit.
Yeah.
So-
They know their system and they stick to it. And that's why when a player goes out, another player comes in and they can still hold that standard of footy. You know, the quality mightn't be there. You take Nathan out and you put someone else in. The top quality mightn't be there, but they're still in the contest because they have that work ethic and they're in the system.
Well, Sonny Taruva, he got dropped basically. Dane Laurie comes on, who gets injured very early in the game. So Jack Cole, they put him over the left centre. He hasn't touched the ball, runs over there. First touch, scores a try. Alamonte comes to the right wing from left centre. So, like you said, you know, they just become reliable. Penrith do a great job, and all the players are all very reliable. They all sort of have a standard they live up to, and they must do it at training. Their training must be impeccable because they do it in the game under pressure.
You see other clubs, in particular we saw Parramatta this year, lose the dominant halfback and Mitchell Moses. They were legless. So Nathan hasn't played for a couple of months, we say 8 weeks maybe. Jerome Luai has totally elevated himself, but then you're going to parachute Nathan back into this team? Oh, what an unbelievable club.
It's the best clubs and the best coaches that can do that, isn't it? You look, Melbourne Storm are the exact same.
Same.
You know, Pappenhausen's been out for a period of time. Harry Grant's missed the last couple of weeks. You got Cameron Munster, who's missed a couple of months. So, you know, the Panthers and the Storm are really leading the way with the system and the defensive side of the game. I thought the Broncos performed really well. I thought that they're in a bit of a hole at the moment, form-wise, but also injury-wise. I thought their first half was exceptional.
The defence was great.
They were right in the contest. It was only late that they pulled away the Panthers, and I thought they got a lot right, the Broncos. They can hold their heads high after this game.
Well, I think if Jock Madden doesn't go off injured,
that's what happened. It was left to
Reece had to play halfback.
Reece had to do everything. You're watching him at the back. He's pushing people.
Which
he's,
then weighs him down.
Nominating everything, and he loses that being able to compliment and just pop up wherever he wants.
So no Reynolds for another period of time.
He's not back until round 22 at this point. Okay. Jock Madden,
that's a month.
He's going to be out for a number of weeks, at least 4 weeks. Who comes in to replace?
We got Josh Rogers, who's played there before. There's a young kid by the name of Kobe Black.
Kobe Black.
He played in the under-19.
I don't know whether he's ready for first grade just yet. The other idea that I'll float to you is here's the injury just there. The other idea is do you play Tristan Saylor in the halves? The way that Reece played when that injury occurred, he stepped up into a playmaking role. Do you play Tristan Saylor in the front line defensively and then Mam, Saylor and Walsh can just float around and be the ball players and be the runners? They can all run the football. There's an option there to actually
can Ezra do
play
it
that way.
Everyone...
When played Billy Walters 5'8", could you just...
Yeah.
There's, Billy Walters a great defender.
Well, it's Ezra's time. I've spoken to people within the club there about moving forward, and they think Ezra is the man to play halfback, so it's Ezra's time to stand up and play halfback.
So would you have Ezra alongside...
Probably Tristan Saylor.
Yeah. Well, Tristan was...
Reece has got to stay fullback. You can't burden Reece with steering the team around or defending in the front line. He's got to stay fullback.
Tristan was in the extended squad. He was doing some extras after the game, so he's still very much in and around the whole club.
I know you're sick of it, Billy, but while you... Picura, Brenton Picura, is he on your radar? I watched him close the other night. He was a whacking bloke.
He was in the 20-man squad for the first game. He's a wonderful player. a wonderful player, and he showed, both defensively but with the football as well. He's got great footwork. He's one of those lighter back rowers that can really move on a pass, and he's got a lot of ability. He's got a big future. He's only 21 years old. He's got a big future.
So he's on your radar for Game 3?
He could be in pencil at the moment. We'll see. The list is in his pocket.
Sorry, Bill.
What have you noticed about the game that they're playing, especially in these last 5 weeks?
Their best players are in the game. Latrell Mitchell's in the game. Cody Walker's in the game. Jack Whiten's moved into the halves. He's in the game. He's running the football, scored a couple of tries on this night. I just feel their best players are in the game, and they're giving themselves a chance by holding the football. So they got so much quality in their team. It's hard to see why they were in the form that they were in at the start of the year, but their best players are playing well.
It's a pretty dreary old night out at Combank Stadium, and the one thing that was noticeable were the white shorts of South Sydney, and in defence just moving, how quickly they were moving. Joe was speaking about Penrith before and how quick they move in defence and how well they work together. That's the difference without a doubt. They're not chasing points, they're working hard for each other. There's a couple of tries literally on the back of defending their line. Parramatta had plenty of opportunities, but defensively they're moving fast, saving tries. It was very noticeable, the white shorts they were everywhere.
We spoke at the start of the show about Latrell Mitchell and what his origin means, what his injury means for State of Origin in New South Wales. What does his injury mean for the Rabbitohs? It could be either 4 weeks that he's out for, or it could be the remainder of the season.
Well, he's one of those players who creates, and when he's on, which he is at the moment, he stops tries. So you've got to say it's a 12 to 14 point turnaround. If you've got to put it in points, the difference him not being there. Jai Gray will come in at fullback.
If you look at the score, they would have won on the weekend. That's most likely. Yeah, they're working hard enough to beat a lot of teams, I reckon. Latrell adds the cream without a doubt, but they're still scoring 30. Jack Wyden scoring some tries. Cody Walker's getting involved. I like what they did with Cam Murray. So I don't think it's just Latrell.
Keon's going well.
And we spoke a little bit about before, different types of fullbacks. Well, Jai Gray's a very different type of fullback to Latrell Mitchell. So they'll play a little bit of a different style. The one thing that I think the halves will have to step up in is the kicking game. Now, although Jack Whiten did a little bit of the kicking in this game, Latrell Mitchell's really taken that responsibility over the last month. So if he's going to be out, the kicking game is going to be something that the halves will have to step up.
So it's looking like Latrell could be missing, Jairo as well, if he undergoes surgery next week on his shoulder.
That was a great interview after the game. It was hilarious.
About his birthday present, where he's getting a brand new shoulder.
What about his courage and selflessness, where he's just playing needs an operation?
Round 1 he did that.
He even said he's going to keep going if he needs to, if they want him to.
Yeah. Can they still make the finals? They can still lose around, we think, maybe potentially 2 games.
So they're going to win 8 from 10, is that correct?
And
they're in the fight now, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The way the competition is at the moment, if you're on 8 and 20 at the moment, you're well and truly in the fight. So I can't see why they're not.
Well, they finish with Penrith, the second last round away, and then they play the Chooks, I think, at Allianz. So them 2 games might decide.
What about quickly Parramatta? What are we making of their form at the moment?
I got to say, the young guy on debut, Geimer,
Killed it.
Didn't
Charlie.
He was the best player on the field. He embarrassed his other forwards who are rep players. He got out there and actually led the way. Geez, he had a great debut.
Well, him and Blaze. Blaze Talangi, he's doing the same. He's embarrassing some of his teammates.
There he is.
He's coming up with big plays.
Young fella from Tamora. If I've ever seen someone who looks like a footy player, it's him. Geez, he looks tough. But I got to say,
That's
in
at
attack,
the start of his career.
in attack,
till the end.
Also defensively, he just went that hard. He embarrassed some of his high-profile forwards. Their forwards were poor the other night, Parramatta.
I think Junior's gone. He's done a
Junior's
Liz
gone
Frank
for the
as
year.
well.
But next week they got the Titans. There'll be no Moses. Mitchell Moses will be away with Origin. So yeah, it's a big ask for him.
Can you see the side just overcome with frustration at the moment?
Well, it's just not working for them. You can see how they're down on confidence, and when you're down on confidence, things just don't happen for you. It's just
It'll be interesting.
it's a
Obviously,
tough watch, really.
I thought Parramatta were coming out with a statement of who their future coach is going to be. There was mailers coming out on Friday, but that wasn't the case, obviously. But maybe that'll give them a bit of direction. You saw it happen with South Sydney. their form turned around once Wayne Bennett was announced as coach. So, obviously they're not announcing Wayne Bennett, but maybe that might have an impact on their form. But you don't lose this many games without effort being a problem somewhere. Effort off the ball, effort at training, whatever it is. There's a lack of effort. And getting stood up by a couple of 19-year-old kids being your best player says a lot. This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights, action, 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour, grab a seat on the couch for that. And of course, my favourite, Freddie in the 8.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm, subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.